Life now is much less stressful. We're not tiptoeing around trying to figure out how not to set him off. We're actually noticing a lot of things that we say to him that we would typically feel would set him off that don't. And we don't have a reaction, we don't have an explosion from him. So life now is much better. The anxieties that I had as far as switching our food around, which were huge at first, because we were talking about everything changing. I mean, it was pretty much our whole pantry was disassembled and then reassembled with a bunch of things that I had no idea what I was supposed to do with. Not that I don't know what to do with potatoes, but some of the different flours that we ended up with, all sorts of different rice and things. But once we got down a pretty good resume of foods that we could eat and how to prepare them, and everything got easier. I mean, the more into it we got, the more normal it felt. And actually better the food was. I mean, like when I think it was Rachel introduced the hash menu. I mean, that was like, wow, that's pretty good. And it can be, you can eat that breakfast, lunch, dinner. I mean, it's a pretty roundabout food. So I mean, as we added more recipes to our thing, I mean, the whole thing got very much easier. Thanks, Sam.
Is it difficult now if you go out to eat?
It used to be. I thought, oh my God, we can't go anywhere and eat. But most menus have something on it that's going to be acceptable. I mean, who doesn't like steak and potatoes, right? I mean, so you can have a steak and potato with a side of vegetables, some broccoli or something like that. I mean, that's awesome. Like, I mean, pretty much as few times as I go out and eat anyway, to have something like that, I mean, that's a perfect treat, a steak and potatoes. So.
Did you find that if you modeled what you wanted Sam to do, that he pretty much followed?
I found that Sam watches what I do a lot more than I ever thought he did, which I guess can be good or bad. But it makes, yeah, I think that he finds it more acceptable to try different things because he sees that I'm doing it, the whole family's doing it. It's not just, we're going to have our lasagna and here's a hot dog, or whatever we're going to give him. Here's your crappy food, whatever. Which isn't crappy. It's all really good. So it's, yeah, I think it's the only way to do this is for everybody to be on board. You can't have, and we tried that. We tried feeding Sam certain types of food and then keeping our regular foods around, and it just doesn't work because he's going to find those foods and then he's going to end up binging on those foods, and we know that because he did that, and then we have reactions from those bad foods. He freaks out. Cheez-Its were the devil. If he got into the Cheez-It box, he was a freak. He would destroy the house. So yeah, it's proof positive that there's foods that this boy should not eat, and having them in the house is like having a loaded gun laying around for him. Mm-hmm. So even though I could eat a Cheez-It and I might get the head buzz at this point now, I wouldn't have back then, and it'd be fine. It's just the fact that he's going to get into it and you're going to have those horrible reactions from that. I don't want to pick on Cheez-Its, but
right.
I mean,
did you experience any benefits from changing your nutrition?
I did. I actually was just shy of being 300 pounds at the time that we switched over to this. A weight gain that had gradually gone on for probably 5 years or more. And almost immediately when I committed to the program, I lost weight. Now, the early months where I was still cheating and hitting Wendy's or whatever, Taco Bell and that, yeah, not so much. But once I decided that, I've got to be part of this system or it's not going to work, then I really did see some benefits from it for myself. Unexpected benefits, I might add.
Is Sam still eating by himself?
No, Sam, just out of regularity, just comes to the table, sits down and eats with us. It's not there's no dragging him to the table, there's no insisting that he be there. That's where he wants to be.
And what is he eating now?
Oh, darn near anything we set in front of him. There's very few things that he won't eat at this point, but I mean, there's a few things that he still will put his nose up at, but for the most part, pretty much everything we put in front of him, he'll eat.
And how's his behavior now?
Much better, 100%. We still see some temper every once in a while, but nowhere near what we had to deal with before, where we were seeing windshields being smashed out, or remotes flying across the room, iPads flying across the room, things like that, and just boom, like that, it would happen, you know. But now it's not that bad. We might he might verbally protest something for a few minutes, and then as long as we give him some time to think about what he's upset about, he usually comes around and he's fine.
Is he more social now?
Very much more social, and a lot of people have noticed that besides just myself. The people at bowling, for instance, I'll bring that up again. Almost every time we go to bowling now, they're like, I just can't believe Sam, he's just a totally different kid. He walks in there where it would be, typically when we would go bowling, we'd walk in, blah, blah, blah. You come around the door, and then there's the bowling team that's standing over there waiting for everybody to show up. As soon as Sam would get sight of them, he would get defensive, and he would be, no talk, and that's how he would get through the crowd of people. Was, you know, like he was going through a crowd of paparazzi or something. He's like, no talk, and then we would get to our spot, and he would, you know, do his thing and get ready to bowl, and then it would be fine. But he wouldn't want anybody to come over and talk to him during that time that he's bowling either. He just wanted to bowl and leave. Now, we come around the corner, and as soon as he sees Mr. Jim, he's like, hug! And he'll go running over, and he gives Mr. Jim a hug, and he says hi to everybody that he sees there. It's such a huge turnaround. It's unbelievable, considering, you know, what little we've changed, really. I mean, to change the diet and to see all this come out of him from us putting in better stuff it's remarkable, and I wouldn't have thought that it would have happened. I would have never thought it would have happened.
Do you have any trouble carrying food into the bowling alley?
No, and we go to two different alleys. We go to the Polking South and Woodman Lanes. Woodman Lanes, I never talked to the people there about it, but we have a special needs bowling team there, and was told through the team that, you know, don't worry about that, they're not going to care, and they haven't said a thing. We take in pizza, or we take in chicken strips that we make, and nobody has ever said a thing about it. Polking South, I went to the desk at one point and told them our situation and asked, you know, if that would be a problem, and they said absolutely not, we completely understand. And added that if anybody did come to you saying something about it, to just come see me and we'll take care of it.
That's nice.
Yeah, they were very, very nice about it.
So would you say that life is more difficult now that you're having to manage different foods, or is it easier?
Well, that depends. At the onset of the program, I thought there was no way I was going to be able to get through it. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, what is all this stuff? I didn't understand. You know, we're getting coconut oil and using that instead of vegetable oil. We're switching out from spaghetti to the quinoa, yeah. Mm-hmm. So at first you're very apprehensive. You don't understand it. It's a bunch of words you've never seen before, a bunch of foods you've never heard of. they're, so it was tough, really tough at the beginning, and I didn't think that I'd be able to get a grasp on it. But slowly, and once I decided that I needed to, then it became a lot easier. It's the fighting that makes it difficult. The I don't need to learn about this because it's not my problem. It's, Sam needs to change and eat differently. But no, it's the whole family needs to change. At least whoever's under this roof needs to understand that that's how it's going to have to be. And once I decided that I needed to pony up and become part of the solution instead of fighting it, that's when it all got easier. I mean, you gotta get your mindset that that's what you're going to do. You can't sit around and expect it to change if you're not willing to change. It's just not going to happen.
Have you found a better use for that $400 a month fast food?
I don't know where that for. We're spending it somewhere else.
Probably on good food, good fruit, good
Yeah,
vegetables.
well, the good food is, unfortunately more expensive. And at the first, that's a good argument. You're like, oh, we're going to spend all this money on that food. We could be buying Chef Boyardee for a lot cheaper. But it's an investment worth making. That's all I can say. I mean, I think a lot of the money that we were spending on fast food probably is being spent on better foods that we are getting, but it's definitely worth it.
And one last question. Why is it important to support your spouse, your significant other, in this endeavor?
Why is it important? Why would you not? It's important to support your spouse on anything that you're going to do, or any endeavor that she or he's going to get into. But when you're talking about your special needs child, what a huge hurdle to make. I mean, to take care of your kid and to expect one of you to do it without the help of the other. It just makes it a lot difficult. Why would you even think that's okay? I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.